o'clock. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lisa, you want to do roll call?
Yep. Steve Dagalo.
Here.
Ian McDonald.
Here.
Lori Belargin. Here. Lacey Oster. Here. Bruce Belargin.
Here.
Danny Erickson. Here. Matt McCall.
Here. All right. Together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging our passions to pathways, and create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Lacey is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, for the agenda, public comment. We'll start, we have two public comment. Louis, you are up first. State your name, address, and then your topic, please.
Louis Germain, 2021 State Road 35. About the daycare. The school years ago was saying we need to build it because the kids are coming. So the campus was built, an administration building was built to keep things separate. Now the saying is we need to do this to keep the kids we have. So the taxpayers in the last 5 years passed $51.5 million in referendums. And because the school was in financial problems 5 years ago, the taxpayers passed a referendum so the school could get an extra $1 million a year. Total so far is $5 million in taxpayer money. So that tells me there was a problem a couple of years before it was asked for. So when your students have been holding at around $14.60 for the last 5 years, why is money still a problem here? How is a daycare going to help when you start losing kids after kindergarten? And that's according to your chart on your annual budget report. The majority of the taxpayers don't want this. So if you want to be in business, starting out, you're failing. What, for about 7 years now? What bank would give you the money to fund a daycare that might make money, might not make money for years? Why should the taxpayers? Businesses have full financial audits, unlike the one the Department of Education's basic one that you guys do. You've been failing for over 5 years. Do a full audit. Find out your strengths, your weaknesses are. Maybe there's fraud. Maybe a new business plan. Maybe a new business manager. The taxpayers are maxed out. Work on your problem with the kids leaving here, and a daycare is not going to fix it.
Absolutely. Dave Woolner.
Dave Older, Somerset, Wisconsin, 490 Forest Drive. The daycare is a good idea, but it's the wrong idea financially. The school district can't afford it. You can't put it on the back of the taxpayers. I agree with this individual right here. I think the school needs a complete audit to figure out what's going on. You know, I mean, you can't afford it, and I don't think you should be in a private business, interfere in private businesses' business. This is a public entity, public financed. We're not a business. Educate our kids. Second thing on these school books, I would like to have the board present to me a list of every book that is in question with the parents of our district, so I can at least look at them and review them and see what it is myself, because I've heard a lot of people tell me that it's bad. But what I will say is that if you look at, as I mentioned before, the opening Olympics, the World Game a year before have a satanic overtone. You look at the gay pride parades. All you can do is Google the one in San Francisco. You can see what the agenda of these books are pushing. They are pushing and grooming our young kids to confusion. So I think as a school board, it's your responsibility to protect our children. So these books are an issue. They're the beginning of this. So the Title IX thing is another extension. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I can't believe the Democratic Party is 100% behind this. If you looked at that gay pride parade, look at San Francisco, Google it. Men urinating on men in public, a guy carrying around his kiddie swimming pool, jumping in, and women squatting over and urinating on him, men committing oral sex acts in public. That's wrong. I mean, that's where it's going. So these books are the beginning of something that is an agenda that's being pushed through on our youth to change culture and confusion into their adult life. The kids I know, when I taught, who have problems like this, our kids are hurting. They need help. And all I can tell you is that those books are the beginning of it. It's grooming. No different than a goofball on the side of the street that's trying to get a little kid to come into his backseat of his car. It's grooming. So I, as a taxpaying member, I would like a list of all the books, and I would like to see copies of all the books. I'll sign them out my name, bring them back, return them to you. Not going to keep them. But I want to see what it is for myself. Because I'm told it's soft porn. It's a lifestyle. As a Christian male, that's a lifestyle. I can't agree with that. If that is the case, then let's bring Christianity into the school system.
5 seconds.
Let's bring the Bible into the school system and get the kids reading the Bible. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. All right, next item, superintendent report. Shannon?
Yep, so letter A there, if you click into the live link, you can see any invoices for our current referendum. Kind of leads me into letter B, so just wanted to give a couple updates on where we are with our 3 projects. So elementary, at this point, just tying up a few loose ends. I encourage people after school hours, if you haven't looked at our playgrounds, they're pretty fantastic. I've been walking around and getting some feedback from kids who've been on the actual equipment, and it's awesome. Want to make sure I give a shout out to the group that showed up on the 24th to do the mulching. That was a huge undertaking, but we got it done, which was awesome. But the staff are reporting, being really happy with all the things that happen inside. You'd be amazed at just what lighting does to a building. It's pretty fantastic. So wrapping up a few things there. Stadium also is almost done. You can go out and take a look at the track. It's not striped yet, so that'll happen sometime within the next 2 weeks. There needs to be some timing in terms of weather and when we have some home football games and those kinds of things, but that is on the tail end of getting finished. You might see some big piles of sod around. We had some weather issues, so some of the sod didn't take, so that'll be redone, not on our dime, of course, but so walk out there, it's beautiful. I saw 2 community members walking on it yesterday that stopped me and said, this is awesome to have in our community, finally a track that's safe that people can use, so check it out if you haven't. And then the Performing Arts Center, so we put a few pictures on our website the other day. In the last 2 weeks, there's been an enormous amount of progress. If you just walk out there, you can see right through the fence. It's pretty easy to take a look at. So that's exciting. So they're trying to get to a certain point, certainly before winter hits, so they can do the majority of the work on the inside during the winter, but that's still on track to be finished for sure by the time school starts next year is what I'm told. But the other thing I want to just remind people to not be driving through that area, even with all the signs we have up. At times the gates are open because there's trucks and things coming in and out. The gates are not open for people to be able to drive through because there's active machinery and things happening kind of all day. So just being cognizant, you may have to take a little bit of a different route depending on where you're headed on campus. But otherwise, projects are going really well. We're excited about what we've had finished so far, and then the Performing Arts Center will be kind of the cherry on top. So, any questions or anything that's come up about the projects? Going once, going, oh.
Yeah, are there, have the issues with the HVAC or air conditioning system or whatever was going on at the elementary school been addressed?
Yep, so those are the few pieces that are still being worked on that can be done way up in the ceiling, so not impacting classrooms, teachers, those kinds of things. There's a few things that they're still tying up, but noticeably better.
Thank you.
So you shouldn't see teachers walking around with winter coats on in the summer anymore.
Or non-green drips.
Or, right, yeah, so. Yeah, overall going well. Okay, anything else, referendum? Awesome. The other item I had, just bringing it back again, is conversation about the daycare. Just to clarify, there's no intent of any sort of action. There's no voting happening at any point tonight on the daycare. Just ongoing conversation, because that's how we navigate this. So attached is the same slideshow that's been on there the last couple weeks. I did update it today with one additional slide. That is slide, Alicia can pull it up, I think it's slide 12. Adding in some additional information regarding benefits to our high school students. We do teach 2 courses at the high school directly related to early childhood and foundations of early childhood. So I won't necessarily read all of that for you word for word. You can certainly take a look at it when you have a chance. Directly aligns to our strategic plan. We have multiple supervised work experiences, volunteer opportunities, youth apprenticeship, job shadowing, things that having an on-site daycare could certainly enhance those things for many of our kids. Increased collaboration with Northwood Tech. Lots of ways that this kind of brings to life some of the things that we're already doing with some of our courses at the high school. The other thing, so 2 things I think that I was asked to bring back this time was getting a little bit more information from some other districts that have done this. It's a little bit dicey only because every district has had a different journey in terms of how they've been able to bring a daycare onto their district. All the way from a district that already had room in their school because of dropping enrollment, so they were able to basically have almost 0 startup costs, to another district down the road that built a completely brand new building. So a lot of dollar variances there, of course. All of those things have been funded through Fund 80 in those communities. So I reached out to 14 different schools in the area. 14 schools that I connected with all have some sort of school age care program, not necessarily a child care, so looking at students or children 6 weeks to 3, but very similar to our current school age care program that we have right now. All 14 of those run that program through Fund 80, and 4 of those schools levy every year to keep those programs going. Of those 14 schools, 7 of them have a district-run child care center similar to the one that we're discussing now. 6 of those levied to have that child care program started through Fund 80 for initial startup costs. One of those districts still levies every single year annually, which was part of the plan when they brought it on board. And the others broke even anywhere between 2 and 4 years, and then after that are able to make money that stays within Fund 80 and then continues to get kind of recycled through that fund. The 7 districts that I spoke to that have that child care center all had very common themes. Don't regret the investment. It's a lot of work. It's a lot put on staff. It's a lot put on people that direct the program, but have seen obviously a huge positive impact within their district in terms of keeping families, recruiting families, staff retention, staff recruitment, and then also the positive impact it's had on the community. So I'm happy to get more information if needed, but those were kind of the big takeaways from the districts that I reached out to. The other thing I want to mention, so last week I sent out a survey to all of our staff as a part of our strategic plan, gathering feedback on Welcome Back Week. And I took that opportunity to also ask some additional questions of staff. One being the question, if the district operated an on-site child care center for children as young as 6 weeks, I would utilize that service, and it was a yes or a no. So out of 115 staff members so far that have responded, 25 of those staff said yes, they would utilize that service, on top of the 81 parents that also indicated in the parent survey that they'd be interested in that service. So I think kind of from here, I guess what I'm looking for is just some kind of general direction from the board. Is this something that, as a majority, you have any interest in, no interest at all, kind of either way, I'm okay. As I said last time, part of my job is to bring these kinds of ideas to the board. Some of the ideas I bring will be small, some will be big like this, and I fully realize that this absolutely is asking for an investment from our community. But I think, we've kind of reached the point where I would like some guidance from the board of like, here's some more information we'd like, or thanks so much for what you've done, but now's not the right time, or anywhere in between. I'm good with kind of wherever it lands. I feel like I've done kind of what I can at this point, without maybe getting some more direction of either wanting some more information or feeling like A for effort, but no thank you. So with that, I will leave it to you.
I think it's a great idea. I think there's a lot of pros to it. But I'm also kind of at that spot right now where as far as the investment for it and just having a referendum go through and just the overall cost, that, and some of the, the feedback I've been hearing from community, I think it's a lot. I commend you completely. I don't want to say, oh, let's wipe it off the table, but I think right now where the economy is, right now coming off of a referendum, I think it's a big ask without putting it through some type of, vote through our community. But again, I don't want to just say no. I think it obviously shows how much work's been put into it, and I think that we've talked a lot about how can we increase enrollment. Let's get creative. I think you got creative in doing this. I'm really hesitant to keep going forward. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with Lacey on everything she said, and just the entire community hasn't been fully surveyed, just parents and families in the district, so it's pretty important to listen to all the taxpayers, and we haven't seen any analysis of return on investment for the daycare yet. Haven't seen any population studies of proven growth in the Somerset School District. I think such a investment in fundamental change in our educational strategy should be a validated issue.
I think we need to think of innovative ideas to increase enrollment, and this one falls short with competing against private daycares. And as far as revenue building, I still think it's a good way to do that.
I'm kind of on board with it. It should be like a referendum question. I mean, I can justify asking people to skip a trip to Starbucks to fund something that we think is important, but this is like more of a trip to the grocery store. People will feel it.
I agree. Unfortunately, I have to say I agree with everybody here so far. It's a big number. It's a big cost with taxpayers that don't necessarily have the return. I also think there's other applications when it comes to Fund 80. How does it affect students, the community? And I just don't know if the daycare is it for us. We've got a lot of sports teams that parents are constantly putting up more money. We're constantly doing fundraisers. I would rather see Fund 80 explored to support sports so that everybody can participate, and some of those sports don't have such a heavy lift. The other piece, I was just at Baldwin yesterday for baseball, and I looked at their complex, from a baseball field to a community pool to a football field, and I think we've made progress, but we're not there yet. And this, I can't support getting behind this kind of money for a daycare right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
I think I got it. Good. I think I got it, which is great. And I think this is good feedback, and we kind of knew going into this that this was going to be a big ask. And like I said, I feel like I've done what I can do, and this is part of my job, and maybe I'll bring it back a year from now, or kind of take some of the feedback and figure something else out down the road. And I'm good, we're good,
Yeah, I think
and
just
we'll,
find out, I mean, to the point of the Fund 80, like trying to pay back, I think is where we end up going, and how
that's what my biggest hesitation, and I put it out there originally, was how do we, no business is guaranteed to make money. No investment is guaranteed that it's gonna make money, but sometimes you have to spend money to try to make it, which is usually what happens, so. I mean, we're outweighed on that point. I'd like to sometime look at it again, like can we see what the, revenue that we could bring back into, try to fund some of those other categories. Hey, we have another, this is making $100,000, I get it's an investment, but would it cover some additional costs? Would that money cover a portion of a fee? I don't know. I think that's the biggest risk that we don't wanna take, is kind of what I'm hearing. I think where I'm at too, I mean, yeah, we've done a lot of referendums, so I get it. I've heard people say, yeah, do it, we should do it, it'd be great, I'd love to have it. I just don't know if we can take the risk. I've kind of heard, we've kind of already said it, it sounds like we're not gonna go forward with it. I think we could make money on it, so I don't wanna see it die, but I think that would be something we could put money back in to cover some of these funding costs. That would be why we'd have to do it. We'd have to see, like you said, what's our business plan, make sure, hey, we need this many kids, and we're gonna make this much when we have 40 kids. We're gonna have 80 kids, and we'll make 50,000, as long as we charge this much.
Right.
And then maybe people will be going on board. Yeah, initial cost, but 10 years in, you're making whatever it is. So I don't wanna see it die. I think we need to look at it again when we're not right in the middle of every 5 years straight referendums.
I would agree. The only thing I'd add is just for kind of your notes, I don't think we should be in the business of making money. So if this is gonna make money, where's it gonna go to?
Well, I mean,
What's
that's
the plan?
yeah.
And I would like to see a really good roadmap of, if money came in, this is what costs we could cut back.
Well, I think that's those things where we funded all that Fund 80, but this would cover those costs there in that program.
I think we just gotta focus on educating kids, JK through 12. As the public schools, that's the role, is with a free public education, is to provide quality education, and that should be more resources.
Anybody else have anything?
Well, I'm rather disappointed because we specifically asked for plans on how to address decreasing enrollment. And the community members that I've spoken to, none of whom have children in the district, have been overwhelmingly supportive. They know how hard it is for their kids to find daycare for their grandchildren. And, Matt, to your point about putting money into athletics because of the fundraising that parents have to do for that, I don't particularly see that any differently than providing child care. And if this, the overwhelming majority of the parents who are open enrolling out of our district, their children have never attended school in our district. I get the initial cost. The people I've spoken to have been overwhelmingly willing to take on that cost for 1 year. It's not ongoing, it's not an ongoing expense. So I hope we do come back to it and look at it in the future. I think it would be a great thing for our community. I don't think it will, a couple of the people who made a public comment tonight said something about interfering with private business. This is not interfering with private business. Leslie told us in no uncertain terms that there is a shortage of qualified daycare. I think it would be great for our community. And in talking with board members from other districts who have gone forward with it, one of the things that they've seen is an increase in their test scores because they're providing high quality childcare. So that's what I think.
I think if it comes back to next time and people just presenting or just telling us that there's a shortage, we actually need to see the statistics and just much more information about that before just, just taking that at face value. I trust everything you're saying, it's just that it'd be nice to see the proof. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I want to see it too.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Well, and Shannon and Leslie, I want to thank you guys. I know that you did do a lot of work with that, and I don't want you, I mean, we did, like Lori said, we asked you, let's get creative, and I think you got creative. So like, I don't want to say we're never going to look at this again. I just think the timing right now, and I do want to thank you guys for the time you put in, because there are definitely benefits to it, and I recognize that. But that cost thing is just there.
Okay, all right, move on to meal policy review. Policy 8450.01, personal protective equipment during epidemic events. Discussion. Alicia, are you able to pull that one up?
If someone looking at this policy, it looks like something that is not necessary at this point in time. We went through a lot of turmoil in our district during the masking of our kids, which was just downright abusive. That was wrong. The experts were wrong, and I just don't think it needs to be a policy. I think that we could strike this policy completely at the least. Take the wording out, district administrator who has the authority, and insert school board in the board. Yeah, but I still think that this policy should be eliminated. It's not applicable anymore.
Well, the first paragraph specifically addresses that concern during times of elevated communicable disease, community spread, or declared public health emergency. We have lots of policies in place to address situations that are not currently happening. We go through ALICE training, not because it's happening currently, but to have guidelines and procedures in place for when we need them. And I view this policy the same way.
How long have we had this one on the books? 2020?
It was updated in
2021, but it looks like we adopted it in 2020, which would have been right in the middle of everything, is that right?
yes.
Yeah, adopted October 26, 2020.
Can anybody tell me why we would have to have this specific policy?
I think it's, like Lori stated, the first line, it just says during times of elevated communicable disease, community spread, pandemic or epidemic, declare public health emergency. I think that's why it's on there. How we address the use of personal protective equipment during those.
So I would propose that if we kept this policy, it would just be the first paragraph, and we give the board the authority to make any and all decisions regarding PPE.
Well, if there's an emergency and there's not a board meeting, I mean, you have to have 24-hour advance notice to have a board meeting. We have many policies that give our district administrator the authority to take necessary action.
So this one specifically was one that it was the board who would make that. During this whole situation, we switched it to put it back on the administrators and the principals because the board kept voting to keep the masks in place. And so they switched it to the administrators so that the board would stop voting to keep the masks in place. So that was a wonderful time in Somerset school board history, I would say.
What is the change to this policy? What changed to this specifically, do you know?
Nothing.
Nothing at all, it's just up for read.
Steve asked for it to be
Oh,
on the
yes.
agenda at the end of the board, or the meeting,
Okay.
the August regular meeting. Bring this one back.
That's right.
So there's no items to be addressed at this point on this one by Neola or anybody else, it's just, it was one that brought up to discuss about it, if we wanted, if the board wants to make any adjustments to it.
No, I'm just surprised that after almost 3 years, this is still on the books and it's still policy enforced at this time. It's totally unnecessary, Matthew was wrong, the experts were wrong. We just need to eliminate this policy, in my opinion.
In your opinion?
But
Yeah, just like your opinion about an emergency, the board can act and take action when necessary.
is there, so Steve, you would like to just keep the first paragraph and strike the rest, is that what you're thinking?
As a compromise, that can be done, otherwise I would, my first suggestion would be to eliminate the policy totally. If we can't do it extensively on that, then leave the first paragraph.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this one, this policy?
Well, I think if we eliminate this policy, maybe we should take a look at also eliminating our policy on child abuse and neglect, and threats of violence, and control of bloodborne pathogens, and reporting accidents. We have many policies to address situations that are not occurring on a daily basis, but we need the procedures and guidelines in place for unexpected times or when things happen, so you have a plan.
Yeah, plan to mask our children again is not a plan, not something that should be acceptable.
Ian, do you have any thoughts?
I agree that the policy is unnecessary right now. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be there. I mean, I'm willing to entertain a change in some language if that's a real issue, but I would need to know what that is.
I'm kind of with Ian, and with Lori saying, I don't necessarily, think that this is applicable right now, but as Lori's saying, there's lots of policies that we have that aren't applicable, and looking at head lice, okay, well, right now, there might not be head lice, but if it happens, we have something in place. And I think as the board, If something like this came up again and we needed to look at it, well then I would request as a board member to put it on agenda. Hopefully this will never happen. We won't have to use this. I mean, but we can look at it at that time.
Yeah, I'd be fine with bringing it back if there was a epidemic or pandemic that we had to address the situation and reassess. So I think we do nothing with it now. If there's something comes up that would enact this policy, then get it. Danny, any thoughts?
I agree.
Matt, anything?
No, I would need a motion to, then I'll speak to it, but I don't have any comments at this point.
There'll be no action.
Huh? All right.
All right, so we'll just move forward without any action on this item or any follow-up on this one. Consent agenda. Anybody recommend any approval? Any items?
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel update, the athletics activities personnel update, and the donation as presented.
Is there a second?
I
I'll
can
second.
second. Oh.
You want it?
Yeah. Danny will second?
Yep.
And any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 6, general information. The September 23rd meeting will have regular session at 6 and a listening session at 5:30. And then district celebrations. Ian, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Katie Lee Photography, for their donation. And if anybody ordered Moms from the Music Blisters, Wednesday at 3:30, not last Wednesday. So if you show up and wonder why nobody's at the middle school, that's why, it's this Wednesday.
The 11th.
The 11th, yes.
Middle school. Got it, Lori.
Nothing that hasn't already been mentioned. Thank you to the people who helped with the wood chips, and thank you for all the work that was done on investigating the child care center.
Lacey.
I'll echo that.
Steve?
Others,
Any district celebration items?
still on there.
Okay. Nothing, I guess, we have a first, or I guess second home football game, the first on the track, really done, or read and taken care of, and we'll have hopefully it'll have some new flags up by Friday. New plaza kind of area up there as well, that's being donated by numerous people. I just want to run through, it's Al and Kelly Woodstock, JWC Electric, Joe Careful, John Melvin pouring concrete out there, Halverson Concrete Solutions pumping and pouring concrete. Rebar Stone, we're getting some additional items, Market Johnson for their donations. And Troy's done a ton of work trying to coordinate a bunch of people, so a bunch of people donating, trying to get a nice concrete area out there for an honor rig for the Hall of Fame coaches, and a nice kind of gather area by the field, so hopefully that's already done on Friday. We'll have some lights, but they probably won't be on yet, for that stuff, working on it. Danny?
Thank you to all the high school football players who helped with the light football, 3rd and 4th graders. It was so much fun to watch. They're such good role models, and I really appreciate everything they helped with.
Just thanks to all the staff for a good start to the year so far. If any staff has anything they want to bring to the board, you know how to contact us, please reach out. We're here to support you. And we want you to know that your voices are heard. So thank you. Good luck with the year.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion adjourned at 6:41. So I think we have to wait till 7, right? So Steve, I'm gonna hang up on you and call you back at 7. Does that work?